Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Big 3 Manga Review. I'm your host, Quincy Hates You, and this is actually the first show ever, the pilot show, you might say. And on this show, we're going to be talking about the latest chapters to be released of the Big 3, which are Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. As many of you probably are listening to this will contain spoilers. So if you're watching the anime and you don't like you're not reading the mangas or whatever, I would not recommend you listening to this because it will contain spoilers. And as you know, the mangas are actually a lot ahead of the anime. So I don't want to ruin anybody's experience. So this is a fair warning. This will be the last warning. There will be spoilers. All right. So now that that's out of the way, where do we start? I'm going to start with the latest chapter of One Piece, which came out. This recording is actually a little dated, so my last reading of One Piece was One Piece 574. And as you know, if anybody who reads One Piece knows for a fact that was the chapter when Ace allegedly gets killed. Ace has his one-on-one moment, and actually his one-on-one moment with Luffy, and he saves Luffy's life from Akino, and he takes a punch and he gets killed. Wow, a lot went through my head at that moment. I guess for starters was the fact that it's the first time Oda actually ever killed anybody. Well, I guess you could say Oars to a certain extent, but the first time Oda ever killed anybody in real time. And again, I'm giving this review before I read the next chapter, so I'm assuming Ace stays dead. With knowing Oda and that whole Pell situation with the bomb, no one really stays dead in One Piece. I'm pretty sure even one day we'll see Gold Roger come back, and then who knows what. Now this is actually pretty interesting because I had a lot of talk with my friends about this particular incident, this particular chapter, and wow. Ace, I mean, like, what the F? How? I mean, everybody went through so much trouble to go rescue him, and Whitebeard stays behind. He gives his final command to, everybody leave, go to the new world without him. He's going to be left behind. There's going to be a new era, and everybody's on their way. Everybody made so many sacrifices to save Ace, and they have him. And Ace gets goaded into a fight with Akino, who I gotta admit, Akino's turning out to be one of my favorite bad guys. Just for the psychological reasons, he knows how to manipulate people, and he manipulated Ace to a T. He got Ace to stay. He even got Ace to fight. And this actually was the first time we've seen a Logia user fight another Logia user. And Akino stressed the fact that there's the superiority over the elements, that lava puts out fire, and I never really thought of it that way, but I guess he's right. I guess I've seen lava actually in some of the videos. If you ever see National Geographics, it does look like that would be the case sometimes. And to see Ace kind of get burned by lava that was a pretty funny moment, because that was in the last chapter. And then Luffy. I mean, geez, what was Luffy thinking at that moment? He's literally begging his big brother to come with him. They went through all that trouble. They got out of the jail. They sail over there, fight a war, and it's it's unbelievable. Ace is this death has got to be maybe, well, again, if he stays dead. I mean, this is probably the first time in One Piece where Luffy actually failed in his mission. I mean, if you want to think about it, this story arc right now is very similar to the Robin story arc in Water 7, and then in its lobby when, Robin's sitting up there, she says, I want to die, and, and Luffy says, hey, if you want to die, then come die with us, we're your friends, we don't care. And, Robin was never accepted. Everybody's always hunting her, hounding her down. And that moment when Robin says, I want to live, that touched me a lot. Ace's moment where he expresses to Luffy and everybody there, Marcos and everybody, that I'm Gold Roger. I'm Gold Roger's son, and everybody wanted me dead. But nobody knew who Ace really was. I mean, Garp knew who he was. I mean, very few people knew who he was, but it's like, he had a good life. I mean, Garp took care of him. Dan took care of him. He left. Whitebeard took care of him. I mean, he had a pretty good life. I mean, it wasn't as bad as Robin's. And I see Oda was trying to get us to pull. He's trying to pull the strings at our hearts with the Ace situation. But again, I think he did it better with the Robin situation than he is with Ace. And plus, I was having a talk with my friend about the Ace situation, and he was like, "Oh, Ace is dead." And this is the second time in the story where we actually seen Ace kind of like die in this. Well, not die, but like have one of those moments where we assume that he's dead. You know, the first one was with the Blackbeard, and I thought he was dead then. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people who thought that he got killed, and I was like, "Oh wow, I guess Luffy's really gonna be pissed now." And it turns out that he lost that battle, gets freed, and then loses another battle. Ace hasn't had a good string of events. Well, honestly, I could talk about the One Piece forever, and this is my first review, so I want to try to keep it short. So I want to move on to the next one, which is Bleach, the latest Bleach one, which is Bleach 392. And this one this actually was a very good chapter for Bleach, by Bleach standards anyway. And this is one of those Bleach chapters that really had me scratching my head to a certain extent. Like, it's one of those chapters where you enjoy it, but then you think about it and you're like, yeah, how the hell did that happen? Alright, so anybody who had read the chapter and the previous chapters, is all the captains versus Aizen. I mean, all the captains, all like Shinji, all his crew, Ichigo is just like standing there watching, waiting for an open moment, and they're all just kind of bum rushing Aizen. As it turns out, that the Aizen that they're fighting isn't really Aizen, and that it's Momo. And and there was a lot of good shots, a lot of good artwork of Hitsugaya, like when he realizes that it's Momo, and that artwork of him going crazy and lashing out at Aizen, or trying to anyway. I thought that was really good. What I didn't quite get was, alright, we have a picture of Ichigo saying, "Hey guys, what are you doing?" And they all look and see that's Momo. Now, I understand that Aizen's power, his Shiki, has a power to control all five senses. And so I'm guessing that even if Ichigo was yelling, they probably couldn't hear him. But I really wondered, I know right now Bleach is on a break this week, so I'm hoping next week we'll get this clarified. I really want to know exactly what Ichigo was seeing that whole time. Because one minute he's talking to Soifon about, Soifon's telling him, "Hey, listen, we're here to, we're going to protect you to a certain extent, but we're not going to throw away our lives. Take the open shot when you got it." And then she goes flying off. And Ichigo must have just saw, like, all the captains fighting Momo and then being like, what the hell are they doing? I mean, I doubt it was like that. I mean, I know Aizen must have made a switch somewhere down the line. I tell you what, Aizen looks like he's, like, the strongest guy going right now. But there is something to be said about that. Aizen looks like he's kicking everybody's ass. Obviously, Ichigo's going to stop him. Now, where does this leave Jin? I mean, no one looks like they're in any kind of shape to even fight him, unless Ichigo's dad shows up, or Ishida's dad shows up, or somebody from the Royal Guard shows up. But, I mean, or is Jin the real major player in all this? Also, we got Wonderwise fighting with the other Vizardo. I forgot his name. I probably should have did a little more research with that. I forgot the guy's name he's fighting with, and we still got to see the outcome of that one. Captain Yamamoto's still out there. He's I'm gonna go on record as saying I think Yamamoto is probably like the major bad guy in all this, because he hasn't done anything except for destroy the Chimera, and he